Greetings, everyone. The coding and billing expert is here, Sam Collins. The American Acupuncture Council is your partner in success. The network is the other step of that. How do we help you? We make sure you're getting paid for what you're doing. And I don't care if it's insurance, cash, or otherwise. Well, one of the things to get updated on, of course, is diagnosis. As you're well aware, diagnosis actually update every year. But here's a riddle for you. When do the 2024 diagnosis codes update? And you're thinking, actually, they already did. Diagnosis codes always update on October 1st, the year prior. So really, the answer to the riddle is the 2024 diagnosis began October 21st of 2023. What's important to note, though, is yes, codes update, but do the codes update that are important to us, meaning the ones that you use regularly? So let's talk about that. Let's go to the slides. Let's talk about what is going on for 2024. In fact, right now, what's happening with ICD10? Well, ICD10 is our coding system. It's what we use to communicate what's wrong with our patients. Now, you might say, Sam, I don't bill insurance. I don't need to know a code. Well, you better know a diagnosis. Whether you're putting the code down or the diagnosis, it should be accurate. So by example, if I were to say someone has neck pain, that would be okay. What's another way of communicating that, whether it be a super bill or a 1500 claim form, is M542. Realize every code is universal. That I don't care if you're in China. You put M542, they know you mean neck pain. So we always have to use coding to make sure we have the best and most appropriate coding for what is wrong with our patient. Diagnosis matters. It really is what is wrong with your patient. Now, some of you might say, well, Sam, I can't diagnose in my state. Well, if that's true, although I will say some of that's not quite, someone comes in with pain, you can say they have pain. You're not differentiating it, you're just saying pain. But what diagnosis is what's wrong with the patient? Why are they there? Now, what I love about acupuncture is the simplicity, but the genius of the simplicity of acupuncture. What does the body always communicate when something is wrong? It always tells us one simple thing. I'm hurting. I'm in pain. I don't care what you have. Pain is always going to be part of that. So keep it simple. Pain is going to be fine for the most part, though we can go beyond that. That's not all. What may an acupuncturist treat? Lots of things. Like, by example, if you're treating with someone under the insurance Evacor, they'll pay for strokes. They'll pay for menopause. They'll pay for anxiety, depression, anorexia. So there's a lot more beyond. Acupuncture now is being recognized to do much more than just pain management, though pain management is a very popular thing to do. It's not all that you do. So you have to remember, when we're talking about coverage for some insurances may be limited to pain, but it can go beyond that. Here's a couple of offices that just put up signs in front. And here will be a thing I'd have for you is, do people know what you do? Like, I drive by an office that says acupuncture. Great. So when you just put that up, what are you expecting? That I know something that no one's ever taught me, or you're hoping. So here's two offices that let people know what they treat. Notice this one is fatigue, stress, tension, anxiety, depression, so on it goes, all these conditions. The other one even indicating like Bell's palsy. Start to think of, we've got to educate people what you do regardless of how you're getting paid, whether cash or otherwise. We have to tell them what we do. And every one of these things has a diagnosis. So that way, even if you're an all cash office, can I give them a super bill with a diagnosis to make sure we can potentially get the best possible payment? By example, here's for Aetna. This is Aetna current. This is going to change after first of the year a little bit. But right now you can see this is what Aetna covers. Now, what's really interesting here, you'll notice it says these are the codes that Aetna covers if the selection criteria is met. But then it says not all inclusive. You know what that's really saying? These are the codes we pay for sure. There's others, but we're not going to tell you. But I would say look at this and start to pick up. Notice it says migraines. Okay, so it covers migraines. But if you notice, you drop down, it covers other types of headaches as well. Then back pain, hip pain. In other words, I'll tell you, they cover pain, but more than beyond that. So it's a matter of knowing, do I have the right code? Well, here's what's happening with ICD-10. We have to know that diagnosis code has to reflect what we're seeing. I would say the most common codes, pain, symptoms, and signs, they are acceptable, probably the best payable codes often. But we have to know, wait a minute, Sam, you're talking about an update. I know. So let's talk about the updates. Every year there's an update. And as noted, the ones changed for this year are October 1st. Now, frankly, I will tell you, I'm very acupuncture centric when it comes to this. I really don't care about things that acupuncturists don't manage, treat, or get paid for. So if you told me something about nephrology, I go, well, that may be an issue, but I'm not going to worry about that change because it's not a code I'm probably going to be using. So this year, there were a lot of updates. You're thinking, wow, we have 73,000 diagnosis codes. Think about that. There's that many conditions. Yep. Now let's be mindful though. How many do you commonly do? I'm going to say most acupuncturists probably code 10 to 15 things. And it's because we see a lot of the same things, or you specialize. So we have to make sure, are the things that I treat changing? So there are 395 additions, 25 deletions. Well, what has changed that I can see that might affect you? Well, here's one. Migraine. It was first on the list for Aetna. Notice now we have codes that indicate chronic migraine. And I know you might be thinking, Sam, there's always been a code for a chronic migraine. No, there hasn't. There actually has not. There's been codes for migraines never identified as chronic. Now, what does chronic mean, honestly? From a pure coding standpoint, chronic means a condition that is lasting longer than you would expect for it normally to be gone, or probably in simplest terms, 12 weeks. So a person that's had migraines off and on for 12 weeks or more is probably chronic. In fact, I would make an argument that most people that get migraines, they're probably recurrent. So I'm going to jump in and say maybe most migraines, unless this is the first time the person ever had it, is probably chronic to an extent. What I'm pointing out there is just a way of coding it. Are you paid for migraines? You bet you are. Now, can you code headache instead of migraine? No, I guess you could. But I want you to think for a moment. Let's talk about insurances like an ASH or others. If you're requesting 12 visits for headache, I doubt they're going to give it to you. They're going to think, come on, it's a regular headache. Treat them a few times. But what if you coded chronic migraine? Does that set up something a little different? I mean, think of a person with simple back pain. That's all you say is back pain. But they actually have disc bulging with radiculopathy. That is painful. But is disc with radiculopathy more serious? That's a patient probably going to treat for months. Here's the idea. Give me the code that best describes what's going on with the patient. So is this a big deal? No, but it's one to add to your arsenal. How many of you have a common code list? How many of you have been to American Acupuncture Council, our network seminars? We provide you with a list of all the codes that are payable by insurance. And in fact, that list is further divided into which insurances do pay for some, which ones don't pay for some. A good way to look, but nonetheless, this is added to the list. There's definitely covered. Well, what else has changed for this year? Well, you remember last year, not any big changes, but the year before, remember the back pain code changed and you had all that back and forth? I'm going to give you a quick tip. If you are billing a Medicare Advantage plan and you're coding back pain, which of course that's what they cover, it must be M5451 or M5459. Do not ever use M5450 for back pain when it comes to anything related to Medicare. And I'm not talking just regular Medicare Part B, but I'm talking the Advantage plans that pay you directly. Well, this year, migraine codes changed, but notice this code for Parkinson's. You're thinking, oh, come on, Sam, Parkinson's? Well, I won't say acupuncture treats Parkinson's directly, but what do Parkinson patients often have? Painful and stiff joints, back pain. So I would look at this as being a comorbidity. I'm not treating it directly, but a person with Parkinson's may have more need for care. I'm not saying treating Parkinson's at all. And I'm not saying I'm really worried about this code, but should you be aware, will a Parkinson's patients have some different issues? If you're dealing with an ASH and you're requesting extra visits, these type of comorbidities are actually what they pay attention to, that, oh, I see why this person needs a little bit more. What about osteoporosis? M5451 is a code that indicates back pain that's vertebrogenic. Might a person with vertebrogenic or osteoporosis be part of that? Here's some new codes for that are going to be related to the pelvis. Now, again, I'm pointing out, you're going, Sam, do I really care about these? Probably not in the sense of directly, but indirectly. Think of you're treating the human condition. If it's manifesting with some pain, there's always a way to do that. What I'm concerned about, though, is what were the changes this year? Migraine. So if you don't have an up-to-date list, you may want to get one. Come to the American Acupuncture Council, the network. If you're part of our network, or if you come to our seminars, you get it. If you have malpractice through us, thank you. But malpractice is separate. Like if you come to my seminar, it doesn't give you malpractice coverage. So we want to make sure you have the right codes and an up-to-date list of information. This year, are there any earth-shattering changes? No, I would say not, because it doesn't change codes that you're already existing that you're doing, but it's adding some. So make sure, do I have the right and proper ones to identify what's going on? And what if they're coming in from someone else and bringing that diagnosis? I got to make sure I have an accurate diagnosis and one that's payable. By example, Cigna has a different list than Aetna, which is different from United, which is different from Progressive or other types. So keep in mind, know your coding, know where your payment's coming from. The AAC, the network, we're always here to help you. But here's one that's interesting. This one may not help you much, but this will be a fun one at parties. There's a diagnosis for everything. Do you know there's a diagnosis for being a bad parent? You know the parent that's hovers over the person too much, that's always there and always interferes in that? That's actually a Z62.1. A parent who is never there is a Z62.0. So you can sort of, in a way, give a person a really bad, or I won't say a compliment, say something bad about them without them knowing it. But here's an interesting one. Have you ever have a friend or family member that works in a hospital? And they come in and be like, oh my God, in the emergency room last night, this person came in, you're not going to believe what they put inside their body. There are diagnosis codes for foreign bodies entering a natural orifice. These are all new ones. They're in the W section. I want everyone to just kind of give me a moment to think. We have a code that talks about you're putting a battery or a button battery, so a D cell or a button battery, a plastic object, a bead, a coin, a toy, jewelry. And here's what I find interesting. There's bottles. But I just find glass or sharp glass. And I guess there is a difference. There could be, non-sharp glass. Here's my point. Coding can be fun. You ever want to say something bad about someone? There's a way of coding it. What I'll point out is there's codes for everything. So if you're seeing something, trust me, there's a way to code it. What I'm concerned about, is it something that is under acupuncture's purview? Is it something we get paid for? And if it is, we want to know it. The American Acupuncture Council, as I said, is your partner. The network is always here to help with that. I hope to see you at a future seminar come January or at any time. Become a member. Let me be part of your staff. Go out and do well. I'm wishing you the best. Code changes for this year don't start in 2024. They started in October. Make sure you update your list, everyone. Until next time, take care.